Hey party people, welcome back to MVM, and today I'm here with a preview for Perseverance Episode 3. Now, if you don't know what we're talking about here, you're like, Episode 3, dude, like I didn't play 1 or 2. What's 1 or 2? What's Perseverance? I'm going to get to that. First of all, you should know that each one of the games is standalone, and the last campaign, I got that back there, is one box with both episodes in it. And I believe this campaign is going to be one box with episodes 3 and 4 in it, and I just happen to have 3 only. So that's all I'm going to be talking about. I don't even know what happens in 4, but I do know what happens in 3. So let's go ahead and take you on a journey through this 1 to 4 player game. As a matter of fact, I should say this because I may forget that actually there's a way that you can play 1, 2, 3, and 4 through these cards, and they have kind of like a way you can play a campaignish style. But these are all standalone games, so if your favorite was 2, then you can just play 2. All right, let's get into this. So what's up with this world, right? So in the beginning, you crash into this island, and it seems sort of futuristic. And what you're trying to do is establish yourself on this island, this place. And what's happening are these dinosaurs are coming right here, right? And they're coming and they're going through, and you're trying to barricade yourself and fight them off. And you're also trying to establish yourself as a leader. That's what the first game is. You're establishing society, and if you're looking down at the board, each board is going to have these 4 spaces here, and in those 4 spaces you're trying to establish yourself and create settlements in those areas so that you can kind of establish dominance and score points. You're getting the votes of the people, you're turning them into followers, you're scoring points. That's kind of how that works. The second game, you're going to be more established, so they have the same worker placement, kind of dice placement spots, and then you're going to be expanding out on the board into this jungle, and you may discover a temple. So there's not more of this rush coming towards you. You're going out, and you're also capturing these dinosaurs on your board. You're also developing as leaders. So there's a huge, like when I say huge, like a huge kind of like, not tech tree, but like kind of development board that's on there that you have your own abilities and all that stuff. It's definitely a heavier experience from that one. And here we are on the third one, where it seems like it's like 100 years later or something like that. And then you are way more established, and what you're doing is going way further out on the island, and you're discovering more temples, and you're discovering more dinosaurs, different dinos, and with that comes different things and different ways things are ironed out. But you're playing somewhat of the similar mechanics, but there's more than enough in this one that will separate itself from the other ones. And that's what I found when we did our review for the channel a while back. That's not sponsored, but it gives you an idea, and we were pretty critical of the game. But definitely a difference in familiarity between 1, 2, and 3, but definitely separates itself between 1, 2, and 3. So that's all your lore stuff. You just need to know that you can all play them you can play them separate. You can just pick your favorite one and play it, and that's how it goes. Hopefully that gives you a background. Let's get to the game. So 1 to 4 player game plays, about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, depending if you're at full player count. But you are taking 8 turns in this game. And over the course of 8 turns, you're going to be taking dice from a dice pool and placing them in an area, or you'll be placing your dinos out there, and I'll show you how that works. But you are trying to take over certain areas, taking out areas in the kind of the city-ish area, district area, or you're trying to establish dominance out in the wilderness. And it's up to you how you want to spread yourself out, kind of going out on adventures and things like that, to win the game and get the most followers. We're going to show you how to do that. It's going to take a minute. Bear with me. Here we go. So here's our board over here. We have our leader, and we have our resources, our starting resources over here. We also have our troops and our leader miniature. We have these dinos, and now we can tame dinos. So we have these little pieces we put on their backs here. I don't know why I'm stumbling on this one here. Getting a little nervous. No. We have our different types of dinosaurs. And this is similar. That part, like you get the dinosaurs, you bring them back here. You used to put them in a pen and you would exchange them. This is different now. So you have these different dinosaurs. You got a raptor. You now have like a triceratops type character. And then you also have this T-Rex one over here as well. I'm going to bring one of these T-Rexes over here. This is a T-Rex as well. So you have a little T-Rex character. Always take a look at the pictures, and also as you look at quality and things like that, this is a prototype. What you're also going to see here is the ranch, and you're going to have different tiles that you're going to put on here, and I'll show you how those work, but typically you're going to start to cover these so you get better actions than the one that's on than the ones that are on the board. Then you have these places here for artifacts, and there's spots where you put artifacts on here that match the shapes on here, and they help you do certain things. They give you certain benefits. You have ones over here for the dinos, and then you have ones over here for your leader and things of that nature, your people and your leader. Over here, you're going to find the actual play area here. You have places where you're going to fit dice, and places where you'll put your settlements. And there are 4 sections. Each section is going to have its own assembly. There, each one, when I say assembly, that's how you're going to score points in the game. And then you have your wilderness out here, which is different environments. You have your swamps, you have your jungle, and then you have your hills all the way out there. And when I say all the way out there, there's actually a lot of board out there. I'm going to slide some of this down here so you can just see how much board is down here. Look at that. There's even more. I'm just going to slide it so you can see. Here we go. All right, cool. So you're going to be going way out there, and you're going to discover temples and things of that nature. So we'll put those things out there: exploration tiles, temples, getting more dinosaurs, and things like that. You have your adventure cards, and you also have your assembly board that shows how you're going to score when you do these assemblies. So let's go ahead and just start here. The beginning of the game starts with rolling dice. You're going to have a certain amount of dice depending on player color. I just happen to have, for 3 players, I just put this stuff out here just to put it out here to get started. There are officers back here, and I'm only going to bring them up because in the beginning of the game you do get to choose a stash tile, and that will affect some things in the beginning of the game, but I've already got these set up for some particular situations a little bit later on. So you have your dice pool, and each die has these different symbols on it. We all have the same symbols, but they all have these different sides. And why that matters is because on your turn, you're going to take one action. Okay, you're going to take one action, regular action. You're going to take a secondary action, and then a whole bunch of other things will trigger based on what the situation is. You, on your turn, will take a die. Okay, and you will place it on any one of these places you want. Okay, they have to match the icon that you want to put it on, but you can place it out here. You also have the option of whether you want to play a die or you want to play one of your dinosaurs out in the wilderness over here, and I will show you what those options look like. Well, let's just go ahead and start with the die. I can take one of my dice and play it, or I could take one of the neutral dice and play it. But if I was stuck with only someone else's die, I can actually pay resources to use this die. I can also pay resources to reduce this, to change the face of this die. I believe it's 2 berries that you can do to change to use somebody else's, or you can sacrifice 3 followers. And you want to make sure you have those followers because that's your points for the game and determines how you win. You actually start out with 10 in the game, so you have some to spend. So let's go ahead and just dig in. I'm going to go ahead and take this one right here and place it there. Now, when I place here, I'm going to be able to take 2 actions from the spot, and that's consistent throughout. So for example, here in the marketplace, I'll place this here, and I can take up to 2 resources. There are 3 of these resources in the game. There's the island resource, junk, and I can't remember what the other one is at the top of my head, but these are the different resources here. Please don't call me out on that. I'll probably put it in the show notes. But you have those. I can take that action, and I can decide to take 2 of these. So let's say I'll take the island resource and this one right here. And then I can take one of these other 2 actions, which is getting one of these the shield heads, and I can get 2 glow berries. But let's say that would be the end of my first action. But let's say I had tamed one of these thunder horns. There's a spot there in each one of these that I can place this right here and take the 3rd action on this game. So I can take the 3rd action. Typically, you can only take 2. If I place this guy here and I happen to have one, you have to have one in your area that's tamed, and you would get to that later on out here. I could place this here and take all the 3rd action of the 3 that's left, the one that's left over here. So 2 actions on this thing or a 3rd, and that's how all these spots work. You have to make sure the icons match. And this also adds to my basically, I'm just going to use the word dominance. It's going to add to my influence or dominance here as well when we get there. And so will this one too, because it has my color on it. But I'm going to talk about what goes on in the other spots here. So let's say I moved, let's say I took this die instead, and I placed it on here. I'll place it on this mic here, and I wanted to do training. Training is simple. You're going to get 2 of your pool of workers here, your troopers here, and then you're also going to be doing some treatment. If you have troops in your infirmary, I believe 1 starts here and then 1 starts out there, you're going to be able to get, you're going to have people in your infirmary. You can give them treatment and they come out of it. Okay, so you have ways of doing that as well. All right, gotta love these glow berries here. Squishy, squishy. Okay, anyway. Completely ridiculous. All right, so then you have your training of dinosaurs as well. Remember, you only get 2 of these things. So you can train your dinosaurs. How do you train these? So I have these different selections of dinosaurs, and each one of them has their own way of being trained. How do I know? I would take a look up here. There's actually a cool way that you can end up to train these for free. But what you're using them for are specific actions later on in the game. But if I wanted to train the dinosaurs I actually have 3 dinosaurs here. I just gotta have the resources. I can tire out one of my troops, which just puts them there. Don't worry, I get them back at the end of my turn. And I spend a resource, spend the island resource here, and then I can tame my little raptor guy. So I'm going to tame my little raptor guy. Let me go ahead and find one of these little raptor guy things here. You come here. You put this vest on. You put your little shock vest on. You know, a little shock vest for animals here. Those are prototypes, folks. So just bear with it on the little lean right there that it's got going on. Okay, and then let's say I wanted to do the other ones, the thunder horn. The shield head. It says right here. I just got to spend a glow berry, and I got plenty of those after that first turn. So then I take that, I put a little vest on them. Okay, so on and so forth. So that's how that works. And I'm just going to take all these actions so you can see. The last one here, I'm going to do, and you can only do 2. I'm going to go ahead and just do this one anyway because I need to talk about it, and that is the adventure action here. So I'm going to put this up here. As you can see, it's covering where I have the turns, and I'll talk about that when we get to our secondary actions. But let me go ahead. Once again, you only get 1 die. I'm just moving them across here so you can see how each one of these sections work. You have your wilderness tile. And I'm going to get back to this stuff that you can do, but let's say I already have one of these tiles out here. I can activate this right here. I can activate one of these that I have established, or if I have one of these tiles out in the wilderness and I have something on them, I can interact with those as well, but I'll get to how we get those. I just want you to know what the action does. Okay, then you have placing a city. So you have a pool of these little settlement markers right here, and what you do is you're trying to spread those out or continue to add to them, because you want to be able to compete with different places where you don't have them, or you want to make sure you have enough where you just kind of you're kind of ahead of the game. But for this one, you just get to place it in one city. So let's maybe just lean into this one a little bit more. We're going to add that. But if I wanted to take this action here, I would spend another island. I would spend an island resource, okay, and I would take that island resource and I would place it in a different city. Okay, so I place it in a different city. I'm going to place it right there, and I would also get to put influence on officers. So I have these officers down here below the board, and they are out of the screen because it's just for sake of space. And we're trying to put influence on those. For the people who are aware of how this game works in the past, these officers have different roles during the game. Typically, if they had 4 of these pieces on here, there was a way that they triggered and stuff like that. That's not like that in this game. You are adding influence to these officers, and you have an opportunity to do some interesting things if you have these pieces on there. But typically, you're going to have actions that you can do with them, and then you also have ways they will score during the assembly based on the sections they're in. And you even have one out here for the entire wilderness. We're going to come back to those. I'm just going to put it on a rando one here. I'm going to put it on this random one right there. Boom, like that. All right, cool. And those are back down here. They're going to be out of the way. So let's say, and just to switch it up, I just want you to understand that you can take any die on your turn, any one die. I'm going to go ahead and place this. I'm going to place this hammer. Do I have a hammer? Yeah, I got a yellow hammer. All right, cool. All right, so I'm using a hammer. And then we're going to do wilderness here. So I get to place out in the wilderness. If I have a wilderness tile out here, let's say this was already on here, I could place one of my little settlements out there. So I'm just going to take one from here. I don't want to dig for it. Here we go. We're going to put that out there. Boom, and you put it on there. Okay, so that's where that would go. We'll take that off. We'll get to that wilderness tile out there. Don't worry. Don't you worry. Okay? Don't you worry. And then we're going to get one of these ranch tiles. Finally, we get a ranch tile. Now, speaking of those, there are different types of ranch tiles. They come from different stacks, and there's going to be multiple ones out here. Once again, for the sake of space, I am not going to have these out here. You're going to have a little display of them, and there are 4 different types, and they deal with the wilderness, they deal with dinosaurs, they deal with all kinds of stuff for assembly. But you're going to see these. You're going to have a display of tiles out like this. I believe it's 2 per stack, and you're just going to look at them, and you're going to have them down here depending on how you want to have them, you know, covering different stuff. And as you cover these, you're also going to get rewards here at the bottom of these pictures. But as you can see, if you look a little closer, I can bring it down a little bit for you. You can see that you're going to just be putting a lot of influence on officers if you take the secondary action. But as you add these, you're going to get cooler things to do, and these little supply pieces, which I'll touch on a little bit later, will give you the ability to do more actions going across these rows. So it's a really interesting kind of setup here, which will make the game different every time. But I'm just going to pick a random one here. Let's see. I'm going to get a raptor. How about that? I'm going to do a raptor thing. Raptor camp. I'm going to put a raptor down here. All right. Just do one of those. And then it says, hey, if I wanted to do this action again, and maybe maybe just so you understand, I can put this one here, and that means I can do all 3 of these. So I can do the 3rd one. Play one of these, let's see, I'm going to get one of these resources here, and I play that, and then I can take one more tile. So I'm just going to take one more tile here. I'm going to take this one here. Boom. So like that. And then I also get to place a supply cube. And there's a reason why you want to place multiple supply cubes in this area. So I'm going to go ahead and just place multiple supply cubes like that. All right, so now I have 2 supply cubes in there. Now, after I've taken my 1 action and I've taken the 2 actions in here, or I have placed the dino over here, I will move on to my secondary action. But there's another thing you can do. So instead of placing a die, I can place one of my dinosaurs out here. So you actually have 2 big choices, whether you want to go here, place a die, or you can just start off and say, hey, I want to do this action out here. Now that pushes your vision out to here. We have several things that we can do out here, but we got to create the path for them. And paths are different depending on player count and things like that. But you have this path, and this is actually from the first game. So we have this temple out here, and we're moving out, and we're moving out along these paths that are out on the board here. So you have the path you must follow, and there's different numbers, and the numbers really matter. They really matter in this game. I forgot to move these on here. I'm just going to slide this out like here. All right. For the sake of space, you move these things according to a certain way here. But what you're looking at is you're trying to put these outposts out here. You're trying to explore different areas. And there's a stack of these tiles for each area here, where you have the swamps that are real close to the landmarks you're trying to establish. And then you have the jungle out there, where you have another different type of temple out there, and then you even have 2 out here in the hills area here, and they represent for different dinosaurs. So what we're trying to do here, and maybe instead what we're doing is maybe we want to get this dinosaur and start to explore. What I need to do is place a tamed dinosaur out on these areas. So every single one of these has different types of dinosaurs, and in order to get into those, you have to place the tamed type that it's asking for to the right of these sections. Now, in order to get this dinosaur off of here, I have to fight it. And don't worry, they have a nice little card to show you what you need to do to fight it. It's a combat card. On the combat card, it tells you how you're going to capture this animal here. You have to fight it. You can either sacrifice your troops in different ways, you can even use your leader, things like that, or you can sacrifice some dinosaurs. But if you do, it's the harder route. It's going to cost you kind of a bigger thing, and it's kind of a bigger cost in the game. It's also going to give you a benefit. And if you use even the biggest, baddest dinosaur, which can be used in kind of comparison, and I should say, anytime you place a dinosaur, you have like your lower level dinosaurs and you have your higher level, you can substitute them. But if you use the big guy, the big Tyrannosaurus, you get some followers. So what you're doing is looking at the one side, the A side, and you can say, hey, to fight this guy here, I need to injure 2 of my guys. So I'll injure 2 of my guys right there. They're going to the infirmary, and then I can take this dinosaur here. They come back. Not tamed, they come back. If I have a certain artifact, they would. We'll get to artifacts later. Now what I'll do is, I'll take 2 of these exploration tiles, I'll flip them over, and I'll take a look at them. I'll take a look at them and decide which ones I want. I'm just going to pick a random one out of the 2 and just place this one down here. Now there's something going on down here, and as people will start to go through this, there's actually a tile down here that will start an assembly. We'll talk about what assemblies do. But for right now, I'm going to place this tile here. It's going to give me 2 choices. I can establish a settlement out there, or I can take the benefit for discovering this thing, and I can just maybe take another adventure. Well, I already have an adventure established, so that's not going to work for me. But if I did take that, in the bottom left corner of all these are different artifacts, okay? And you want these artifacts because they will cover parts of your board, give you immediate benefits, and they also can unlock your ability to do certain things. So I'll just kind of talk about them, but you have a choice between the bottom or the top. And if you place this out here, you're going to have something of a similar effect of, hey, when we have an assembly out here, how many of my color pieces are out here? So it's just like resolving one of the assemblies here. There's going to be assembly out there, and we'll talk about it when we get there. So for right now, I'm just going to place this out here. I will get those benefits right there. So I get a glowberry and a dinosaur here, and that would be my turn for that. You can do this as we go further and further out, and as you build the routes, you'll get to even one where there's a temple out here. And once you find it, you may have to put a dinosaur out here. This is one of the only spots where multiple players can establish themselves out in that area. Once it's discovered, you will take the dinosaur and you have to combat this raptor. So for a raptor, it's a little bit different. You have to injure a troop, and then you actually have to get rid of a troop. So you have to really do some sacrificing. Or if you happen to have one of these big triceratops type guys, you can just sacrifice one of them and get some resources. But for right now, I got my little raptor guy, and then I also get one of these artifacts and some followers. So I'm going to grab this artifact anyway, just to kind of show you how these things do evolve in the game. And what I've got here is this artifact that covers, see, it covers this one right here. When it covers this one right here, what it happens is now, instead of having to pay for a raptor to get tamed, now my raptors get tamed. Okay, they get tamed automatically. So when I bring them back, they automatically get their little thing here. They don't get them right away, but like right now. But in the future, when I just pull this guy back, in the future, if I were to get a future raptor, I would just tame them automatically. So what you want to do is start to cover these guys up, and that may mean grabbing these tiles as you explore and things of that nature, so you can make it easier to tame animals. And then over here, you'll get benefits like being able to place on a settlement. You'll be able to exchange some of your color dye. You'll be able to exchange your color dye with one of these neutral dye. You'll be able to pull this tile off for the infirmary. And then you can even change your if you get the specific one, you can change your leader into one of these special riders, and this one right here is a Triceratops rider. I'm a leader rider now, and I can even place myself out here to take actions. I can use for combat. I can place it out in the leader area, and there's spots for leaders. There's all kinds of cool stuff that you can do. This one right here is kind of a game changer in the game, because this gives you a little bit of flexibility of how your worker works now, your leader worker works. Helps on adventures, because you can place it out on adventures, and you can place it out in adventures. You can use it for combat. You can use it out in these areas here too. So you have multiple options and flexibility, and each character in the game has a different one that they're in control of. I think I have a raptor. Oh, no, I don't have it in my reachable area here, but you do have different riders in the game. And once this is out here, you establish this. It's set. Okay, so now everybody's going out there. You've discovered that, and you can do those for those ones out there. And I think that's what you need to know about your basic actions. Then you move on to your secondary actions. So once again, place a die and do this, or go out here with the dino, start to explore as you move out. And that's consistent throughout. You'll start using these tiles as you move out further to the jungle, and then you'll have these tiles available now for adventures as well. You'll have some adventures here, so you'll have a row of 3 here. If you move out to the hills, you'll be pulling from those tiles, and then you'll have have different ones to pull from here. So you have a lot of options that you're going to be given throughout the game. And it seems like 8 turns isn't enough, but people are going to be piggybacking off the routes that are created through there. So you're going to be moving further out fairly quickly if you keep going, keep kind of moving out there. And there's just so many juicy benefits that people are going to kind of be chasing those as the game goes along. So now we've taken our first action here, and now we're going to take our secondary action. You have 2 options here. You can activate one of your ranch tiles here, ranch rows here, by sacrificing 0, 1, or 2 of these supply cubes. You have, I think, 6 of them, and what you already have one of these printed on here. So you can sacrifice 0 and do one of these actions here. You can sacrifice 1 to take 2. You can sacrifice 2 to take all 3. So you have different little ways that you can make this a lot better for you in these rows by taking on those tiles, by taking the actions over here in the work yard so that you can get more of these and you can put them out here. So that's one of the ways that you can kind of make this more exciting for you and how you want to build your engine, so that during these 8 turns you're really getting more for your money as you take make this choice. Or you can use these, once again, these officers. Now you're putting cubes on here to establish dominance on who gets what from these officers. But you also have the opportunity to sacrifice one of those to take the actions that they have on here. So they have the scoring stuff for assemblies, but you can take this off here. You can move your leader. This one you can take off here, take off a cube, and it says get rid of a dino. You can do 1 treatment, and then you also get to get an adventure card. This one here, you get rid of an island resource, and you get another, you get a ranch tile. You have this one here where you sacrifice a couple things, and then you get to place out here on these little these landmarks. And I should say these landmark areas are out here. There are 2 versions of them. They're double-sided, first of all, but when you place out here on these, and only one person can, you have a passive ability for the rest of the game. So this one here, like when you place a city, you get 2 glow berries. I believe when you're choosing between 2 wilderness tiles here, you get a person, you get troops. This one here, you pay a resource when you're taking the supply action, which is this over here. You get to place, you pay a resource, you get to place on the officer. And then this one here, you place a die in the city, your color die in the city, you get island resource. So you have these different things that that you can kind of manipulate this, and then you have these end game ones that come out at a certain point in the game, and then those also can give you additional scoring, which I'm going to probably show you again once we get to the assembly. So you have this choice of sacrificing these as well. Okay, so once again, your secondary action, you're going to be taking either the supply or you're going to be doing the perk of an officer. It's called perk. All right. So what happens? How do we start scoring points, dude? Like, what are we doing here? Okay, so there's 2 different assemblies. What'll happen is based on player count. So let's say in this 3-player game, whenever we have 3 dice, I'm just going to make sure that that's proper. We don't want to just make stuff up and then cheat here. So we have that, and we have to have a hammer to make this look right here. So I'm going to put my guy over here. And then we're just going to mix it up a little bit. Mix it up like that. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to evaluate this when we have 3 die, and this will be at the end of my turn. So we'll just kind of have that there just to be set up. Now, we go over here to adventure. So now we're moving our adventure stage. First action, secondary action, now we move to our adventure. When we take an adventure card, we should have certain things out here. The card will tell you what you're supposed to do, and as soon as you get the card, I forgot to do this, you're supposed to put your resources and stuff out there. What I need is a tamed shield head. So I'm going to go ahead and just do this right here. This is me cheating, and you're supposed to have this established already. And then I also need 2 of anything. So let's just say I put my leader, which I can do that, and another troop out there. And what will happen is, and this is my turn marker, but it's also how I'll go on adventures. Immediately when I place out here, that will give me this benefit when we get to this part. So I spend a glow berry, which I have quite a few of them, to place a perk on my officer. I got this piece here. I'm going to put it on officer over here. Then we would roll this threat die. This is the only like super risk thing in here, and we're trying to get a certain number. It says 4 or less, I get injured. My leader can help me out with getting injured. They just get tired instead. The troops, they get injured, they get stuck here. So we do that. Now we're done with this part, and we move on to the end of turn stuff. So for the end of turn, one of the first things we do is we move our marker. Okay, so I'll say this, in future rounds on this card, when we get back to another round and we go back to my turn and we're back at this part of the turn, we would take a look at a couple different things. You would get an award, but you would also look at if you've been at a certain spot. It will kind of have different numbers on there. Did you get to the spot 2, spot 3, spot 4 of the wilderness? I got to spot 1 and I have my guy there. Well, I get two followers because I did, and that's on the card right there. Then I would do 2 rolls for this one. Lord Jesus, that's 3, and then I would get 5, so I'm good to go. All right, and then I move my marker here. Now, in the future, I would complete this card, and it says I get that triangle one. I get the triangle artifact. At the end of these, there are artifacts. So you have to go out further to get different artifacts. That's kind of how the game works. The further you go out, the more artifacts in different ways. Of course, there's different ways to get to this stuff, folks. But I'm not going to go too deep in the weeds. But that's how this adventure card works. It takes time to get through it, but there are benefits for having these cards completed. It has to do with the officers and things of that nature. Then the next thing is we regain soldiers that are tired. So this one is tired, not the ones that are injured, the soldiers that are tired and the dinos that are tired, because some dinos can come back tired as well. And then we look for assembly things. So assembly comes in 2 ways. There's assembly that comes out in these sections, and there's assembly that is revealed when we get to a certain part in this stack. Okay, because every time we do this, we take 2 tiles off and then we put 1 down here. When we get to this part, we have an assembly out here. But we're going to focus on this one right here. So we have 3 dice in a 3-player game. 3 dice are there. We do our assembly. What does that what does that mean? I'm going to put this over here, folks. I'm going to put that over there. All right. So what does that mean? I'm going to count all the colors, my colors that match here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 here. That is a combination of my settlements and the landmarks. If I had a dinosaur here, my leader was here, anything here. We only have a bunch of neutral dice, so I'm good to go. And there's only 1 of green right here, so I don't have much resistance. What I would do is I would say, oh, I won this here. So I won this, and what do I get? Well, we look over here at our assembly board, and this is assembly scoring. This is totally different here as well. So you have these tiles that are going to tell you how to score things. So I would get 3 more followers. Yay! Boom. Shows you the 2nd and the 3rd place awards as well. So the green player would get a supply cube. They put the supply cube in their area as well. And then what happens, this gets discarded, and then we have a new tile. As you notice, the number has gone up quite a bit moving forward. This becomes an active 1. And there are certain things that will happen. It looks like I put these backwards here. Let me put this one here. These progress, folks, and I think I have them all wrong. Here we go. 2, 3, 4, 5. We don't have to edit this out, do we? Do we? No, we don't. We're going to go ahead and flip these the right way. There we go. They do progress, but they don't progress that aggressively. Okay, so they progress, the awards keep going up, but in the top left, as you go through this stack, different things will happen. We will refresh these stacks of tiles here. We will refresh these tiles. We may refresh those tiles. We may add, at a certain point, we'll add these to the game. These in-game tiles, which I talked about before. We will add these into the game. So this is just kind of show you how things do develop. But this will be used for these assemblies, and it will also be used for the ones that are out in the wilderness. Now, once we're done with any assembly, I'm going to move all this stuff out of the way. We're getting a little sloppy. Okay. And when we're done with any assembly, we will then assess that section's captain. So we'll take a look at the captain, the officer of that lane. Okay, so the officer of that lane. And then we'll decide who has the most in this area here. So what we'll do is, and this should be over here. I'm getting a little irritated by that. what we'll do is we'll look down at the bottom, and it will say, hey, whoever won this thing here, they're going to calculate this, and they're going to get points. So for this one, it says I have tamed a tamed raptor gives me one follower. If I have two tamed of these shield heads, then I get 1 point. If I have a tamed Triceratops dude, if I had one of these Triceratops dudes trained, I get 2, or if I had a Tyrannosaurus one trained, I get 2 points as well. Now the thing is this works for the second place as well too. They get half points. The people below, they get half points for this stuff. So it's important to make sure you're establishing yourself on these things. After an assembly is done down here, you just re-roll, you just take these dice off, and then you re-roll those. If there's a leader up here, you take the leader back. And that is the end of that assembly. These go right back into the dice pool for the rest, and then moving forward. Now, there's an assembly that can happen out here. And like I said before, as you go through these tiles, you're going to eventually see this tile, I believe, in a 2-3 player game. It's in the 7th one, so you see that there. Okay. So you'll have an assembly out here. How do those work? This is based on your settler, your dinosaurs, how many of these settlements you have, and if your rider leader is out there, because once you get your rider leader, you can put them out there as well. You're going to establish yourself out here. Okay, so I would be the only one out here. I would resolve this. I'll resolve this. We will move this out here and put it out there like that. Boom. And then this will go away. Okay, and then we would resolve that just like we did, and then we'll also have our officer resolve just like the officer is resolved here as well. So it's very, very simple. It's very easy if you remember some of the beats of how this works in episode 1 and episode 2. You start to see some familiarity. You're like, oh, okay, it's sort of like this, but oh, they changed it up. And that's kind of what the difference was between 1 and 2, was like, oh, now we're doing more. This one is like, oh, we're doing these things. We're kind of venturing it out. And that's what you're looking for in this game. All right, so what else happens in the game? As we go through this, it's going to play out the same way. And you're going to get to your 8th turn. When you get to your 8th turn, you're going to have your personal goal. You get this in the beginning of the game. Your personal goal is going to have different things based on who, how many people you're playing with. You're going to all have these different cards, and you're going to have your own personal goals. You won't show this to anybody, but they have the different types of things you're supposed to have. So like, I must have 8+ dinos, I get 10 points. If I have established in certain areas, so if I'm dominating the downtown, the military, or the swamp, then I get 4 points for each of those. If I have the most there, I get those points. And then there's a shared goal that we pay attention to. We just have to look at the card and find out, oh, this one is the chief officer, this one here is the captain. So we make sure whoever has the most there, there's a shared goal there for scoring. At the end of the game, you're going to get points for quite a range of things, but it's not too much to score. You're going to get points from having yourself established out in these in-game tiles. Okay, so you have to have yourself on these in-game tiles. Only one person can be on those. You're going to have all your different pieces out here. So the more artifacts you have, the more points you get. You get points for resources. You get points for glowberries. You get points for your troops as well. And that's basically it. There's a lot going on, of course, but this is the general explanation of perseverance. And I kind of almost covered every rule. I'm sure there's some that I missed, like some small ones that I missed in there, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of everything. And let's just talk about it real quick. Of course, I can't give you my opinion. I played this back at Origins, and since I played it at Origins, I decided to do the preview for this video. And that gives you as much impression I can give in a preview. But what is it about this game? There's something about the progression of the experience through these games. Consistency and evolution of the design. And that's what this game does really well. It evolves a game that you're familiar with and expands it and gives you new options and gives you more to think about than ever in this world. So that's what Perseverance does. It just gives you more to do. It gives you tighter choices where you feel like man, everything is so important. There's only so many turns. I think in the previous one you got 12. Now you're down to 8. But those 8 turns end up actually expanding to different things very quickly. So you see, oh, I can do a lot in 8 turns. It's just doesn't feel that way initially. You're like, I don't know what's going on here. So there is some kind of engine building in between there where you get benefits left and right, and then you got your officers, and then you have your secondary actions, and the more you kind of expand your ranch tiles and stuff like that. You can see it, but at the same time, it feels super tight. And those are the types of games that I generally gravitate towards. But hopefully I helped you understand what this game is. I can never tell you what to do with your money. And keep in mind, folks, this is a paid preview. This is also a prototype. Things can change. But I definitely hope I gave you a good idea of what's going on here. I'd like to thank Mind Clash Games for sponsoring this video, and I'd like to thank you for your time. This is a longer preview, but I wanted to give you most of what's going on here so you really have a true understanding of what these games are, especially if they're on a little bit on the heavier side. Although I think this game is pretty easily digestible for someone who likes medium weight Euros, medium to heavy Euros, if you're really digging into how all the strategies may work out. All right, party people, you take care. You have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me on MVM.